What's going on? Welcome in. So, in this one, I wanted to bring on my buddy Foz from Foz Sports Talk to break down the Justin Fields acquisition, give a little bit of your thoughts on, Fields as a player, kind of what happened in Chicago, the good, the bad, and really kind of what to expect with the Jets moving forward. So, how's it going, man? Thanks so much for hopping on.
What up, Ian? It's always good to connect with you, man. Appreciate it. And yeah, I'm excited. Let's talk.
Yeah, dude. I mean, Chicago, first off, they've been making a ton of moves. Ben Johnson, like you got to imagine Caleb is going to take a step going into year two. Plus all these, new moves on the O line. Like, quick little side tangent here. How you feeling about
Yeah,
Chicago?
I'm pumped. I'm so pumped. Like anybody who knows me, who's followed my channel for a while, like I've been preaching trenches for like years now. And the fact that we went ahead and we traded for Joe Tooney and Jonah Jackson, and then you go ahead and you sign, for some free agents, Drew Dahlman, like the whole offensive line got revamped in like 10 days. I've never seen anything like it before. So I'm so pumped about it. And yeah, man, protection for Caleb has been priority number 1, 2, and 3. So cross my fingers and hoping that, it's the case for us for this next season.
Yeah, man. And then you throw on top of it another top 10 pick. Like that's, I would imagine, just another instant impact day one, type of starter. But when you talk about Justin Fields, this is someone who, much like Zach Wilson, comes in to Chicago, big expectations, and they don't work out, right? For whatever reason. Is it them? Is it the team, system fit, whatever it may be? But what was kind of your maybe reaction when Justin Fields was drafted by the Bears, and then just kind of watching that story play out? Because ultimately, he was traded to Pittsburgh. But where did you kind of stand with the whole Justin Fields draft pick when it
Yeah.
first kind of kicked off, and the excitement level, and just things like kind of recap that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jets fans will be interested to hear this because as a Bears fan, I think I've watched every single game for Justin Fields since he was drafted here and until his last game. And to your first question about how pumped we were so pumped, man. We're talking about, he was, I think, the 11th overall pick, like a high draft pick, a guy who's coming in. We needed a quarterback. And, by all accounts, Bears fans loved Fields coming out of Ohio State. So to me, I was pumped. We were all pumped. And really just coming in, the hope was that Justin would just, kind of change things for us very quickly at the quarterback spot and just kind of take off. But I think a lot of factors were at play here. I think the biggest one was probably just the fact that felt like we just didn't have the right coaching staff for Justin. Now, obviously, with the Jets, you guys have a new coaching staff, so I hope this works out in this aspect because I think it's important here with Matt Eberflus and Luke Getsy, two guys who no longer have a job here in Chicago for a reason, right? Matt Eberflus, he's now with Dallas. Luke Getsy, I think he's like the assistant coach in like Green Bay now. Couldn't even last in Vegas. They just weren't able to build a good game plan around Justin Fields. I still firmly believe to this day if Justin Fields had good coaching and he had a good offensive line, which he also did not have in Chicago, he probably would have still, if not been the quarterback here, at least had a starting job somewhere else versus, whatever happened in Pittsburgh with him kind of, switching off with Russ Wilson. So combination of two things for me, what happened in Chicago that led to Justin not working out, which was coaching staff and then offensive line, because you got to remember this man ran for over 1,100 yards. Like he's a talented quarterback. That second year, I think he had 17 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. We thought he was going to take off. And then that next season is kind of where things went left. And again, I just go back to coaching and I go back to the offensive line. And again, it was just bad timing there.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of sucks with these young quarterbacks because they come in to, not in every single case, right? I mean, you have the outliers, the CJ Strouds, the Jaden Daniels, the Justin Herberts and whatnot. But, for the majority of these guys, and it's funny because those like top end quarterbacks kind of ruin it for everyone else because they're just like amazing right out of the gate. And so I feel like naturally it's like, well, okay, why didn't Zach work out? Why didn't Darnold work out? Why didn't, Fields look like this in Chicago? But I just feel like it's tough, right? You mentioned the coaching staff, you mentioned the offensive line, and it's like when you have a staff and an offensive line like that, and they're not really like building around the quarterback, whether it's building the actual roster out, whether it's building the game plan, or whatever it may be, just the overall like infrastructure around that quarterback. If that's not there, you don't you don't really get those high moments. You don't get those like super exhilarating games. Oh, Fields threw for 380 yards and 3-4 touchdown passes with this great completion percentage. So you're not getting that top end stuff, but at the same time, like that young quarterback is still trying to develop, right? So you're going to have like the low moments too, where it's the multi-interception games. It's the games where he's, under 50% completion percentage, and maybe it's like an embarrassing loss. So you're kind of moving throughout the season, moving throughout all these weeks with a quarterback that's not really reaching the highs, but at the same time trying to develop and learn learn kind of the ways of professional football. And you're having these speed bumps and like you're trying to work through these really the learning curve
Mhm.
that comes with trying to develop. And again, if that just infrastructure is not there, it just makes that quarterback's life that much harder. But with you, I remember, because I always love watching your videos, especially like when there's huge like breaking Bears news.
Yeah.
I remember when the Bears landed that first overall pick, there was like the instant debate, right? Justin Fields is still young, he has potential, but Caleb Williams is Caleb Williams coming out of the draft. Everyone knew he was going to go spot number one. But I remember with you, you were like, hey, let's not just completely give this thing to Caleb and say, Justin, hit the road. See ya. You're
Mhm.
garbage. We want to move on. You were like, hey, hold on a sec. Fields, there could still be something there. And I felt like you were, you kind of had that unique perspective, and really not many people, I felt like, kind of
Yeah.
had that angle on it. What made you kind of feel that way with Justin? Like, because there had to be like that level of, or a specific level of belief in him as a prospect for you to
Yep.
potentially bypass, a guy in Caleb at one.
Yeah. So, great point. My whole thinking with Justin was the talent was always there with him. I harp back to coaching and offensive line. I could clearly see those as issues. And then you always look around in the NFL and you see what other teams have and what other quarterbacks are working with, right? And the fact of the matter is, again, this is going to sound like an insane hot take, and I'm not meaning this to the exact T, like it's not verbatim, but just take Jalen Hurts for example in Philadelphia. If he doesn't have an insanely good offensive line and ridiculous weapons around him, what does he look like? Right? A similar profile to what Justin. I'm not saying Justin's better than him by any means, but like it's all about situation. And it drove me crazy that we couldn't get the proper infrastructure in place. And the reason we had the number one overall pick was because we didn't have the infrastructure in place. And so that's what ended up happening. And if, again, Caleb didn't end up turning into this, you know, when he was coming out as a generational prospect, I felt like there was a non-zero chance we trade that pick to and then go ahead and still build around Justin. Like there was again not high, but a non-zero chance of that happening. But obviously, it just so happened that Justin had a down year, and it just made it easier to move off of him. But yeah, just going back to that point of, look, we have seen quarterbacks time and time again either go to a new situation. I don't mean to bring up ex-Jets quarterbacks, but like a Darnold or a Geno. And then we also have guys like Jalen who have ridiculous situations. And it's like, man, can we just give this kid a chance? Even at Pittsburgh, he didn't get a proper chance. So to me, it was just about seeing the opportunity or lack thereof, and then just seeing like the problems around him that made me feel like, hey, Justin needs another shot.
For sure, man, for sure. And it seems like, the Jets are going to give him that starting chance. I mean, based off of just what they're paying him. I don't, because I've seen a couple reporters suggest that, Aaron Glenn is going to make Justin Fields like work to be the starting quarterback. Personally, I think, Fields is going to be QB1
Yeah.
based off of that contract, right? I don't see Fields backing up Tyrod Taylor out of the gate. I just don't feel like that's realistic. So I kind of feel like you're really trying to hammer home, hey, he needs a shot and he
Yeah.
needs to get with a team that kind of wants to put their arms around him. Like, hey, you're our guy, even if it's just for a season. Let's just see what you can do. And the Jets aren't, we're not a perfect team. Like we have holes. I feel like the Jets are kind of like a top heavy team with like Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, Olu at left tackle. Like we have some positions figured out, but then like outside of that top tier, like when you start really focusing on depth, it's just not really there. And who know? I mean, we're filming this mid-March, so we'll see how the draft goes, and maybe the
Yeah.
Jets bring in some whatever, some more free agents and stuff to kind of round out the roster. But it's really looking like he's going to get that chance. So, last question I had for you: should Jets fans be excited, or are you kind of thinking like, deep down,
Yeah.
don't get your hopes up. You'll probably be drafting a quarterback in 26.
I think you guys can be cautiously optimistic just based off of the potential of how the offense is ran. So again, I don't have too much info on your new OC because obviously Aaron Glenn's a defensive guy. But if the Jets kind of go back to running the football heavy with Brees Hall, letting Justin pick his spots with his former teammate and Garrett Wilson. The thing with Justin is he's got a great deep ball. All right. And when he is able to just sit in the pocket and deliver from that, he's not a guy who, who's more of a guy who's going to throw 40 times a game. But when he does throw, he can be impactful. So again, a lot of running the football, hopefully play action, letting Justin run. And I just feel like if the offense is tailored to his skill set, you can most definitely have a solid season. Again, as far as long-term answer, I mean, Justin's only 26 years old. Again, we've seen reclamation projects happen all the time in the NFL. So I definitely think there's a chance of Justin being the quarterback and beyond. I think I'm just a Justin Fields fan, so maybe I'm a little biased, but I seriously feel like it just goes back to the offense being structured around him. And if they use him the right way, then I think Justin should be solid for you guys. So I would be a little optimistic.
Yeah, man, that's sweet. And again, you kind of feel like he is going to be the starting quarterback. Like the Jets aren't going to make that move on day one of free agency. Here's $40 million, 30
Yeah.
guaranteed to your deal to say you fit our system. We're not going to build this thing around you. You better, come in and work to compete with, like, you better try to, beat out Tyrod Taylor. Like again, I just feel like this type of move it's kind of like a low risk, high reward, right? The reward is, hey, if it works out, you get a franchise quarterback at
Yeah.
whatever it is, 25, 26 years old. If it doesn't work, all right, well, you're out 30 mil. It's like a mid tier
Yeah.
starting quarterback, and you just kind of pivot when need be in 2026. But dude, I appreciate you hopping on, man. I always kind of feel like the Jets and the Bears were
Yeah.
similar, right? We're cycling through coaches, we're cycling through quarterbacks. You guys obviously it didn't work out with Fields or Trubisky. There was a nice little stretch with Jay Cutler where you guys were winning some
Yeah.
games, but
Yeah. I'm hoping
yeah,
that with Caleb too, obviously had a up and down rookie season, but still had 20 touchdowns, 6 picks. So hopefully the infrastructure is in place now. But yeah, one last thing I'll just say about Justin for Jets fans too is I would, and I seriously mean this, I would rather have Justin Fields at the number you guys got him for. I think it was like 40 million, right? But 30 guaranteed. I would rather have Justin at that number over what the Seahawks gave Sam Darnold, the $100 million contract, and the Raiders are about to give or will give Geno Smith like 40 million a year. And I only say that because those guys, they're going to take you to the same place that Justin could in terms of just where you guys will end up. Again, no one's expecting Super Bowl right away, but or hopefully a playoff team, whatever have you. But you guys are in a better place committing that money to Justin than those franchises are committing those money to those quarterbacks. So just a perspective for you.
yeah, no, it's a really good point. And I guess maybe with Darnold, like he's obviously still young enough to maybe improve and look better, or maybe even duplicate what he did in Minnesota with like a lesser team in Seattle. But with Geno, I feel like we know kind of what he is at this point. He's not
Yeah,
getting any better, and the hope is, at least for Jets fans, as Fields continues to take steps in the right direction.
exactly. He can get
Yeah,
better.
yeah. So I'm really excited. A lot of Jets fans are really excited. And yeah, it feels good to kind of just turn the page in the whole like
Yeah.
Rodgers, Hackett. It was just a night.
The
Last season was just
culture.
a complete
Aaron
nightmare.
Glenn's a culture builder, so I love the fact that you guys will hopefully have a good culture in place. And Justin's a great guy for the culture too, because he's a put your head down, get to work, no ego, none of that stuff that you guys were dealing with. So yeah, hopefully things worked out. I'm crossing my fingers for you guys.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you hopping on, man. I know it's early in the morning for you, different time zones.
Yeah.
And for everyone watching, Foz's YouTube channel will be linked down below in the description box. I highly recommend checking it out. Not only just Bears talk, but also Chicago Bulls talk as well,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
Yeah.
But
Appreciate that, Ian. Thank you guys.
yeah, thanks so much for everyone. Sorry, go ahead. What were you
No, no,
gonna
I
say?
was just saying thank you so much for having me on. It was always a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Sounds good. Sounds good. Thanks so much. And as always, go Jets.